Alright, this is take 2 of a little Biot Nymph. Knocked over the camera the first time. Just gonna start with some lead wire. Gonna hold that tag end against the shank. Just take a few. Do a better job of it. There we go. Just take 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's all we need. Helicopter that off. Hold the wire while I wrap the tag end around. I'm not super good at wrapping wire weight, but this is how I do it. Okay. Smush it together with your thumbnails. You got a little weight on your head. Come in behind it with a bit of thread. Let's see, I want this pretty far up because I need room to show off that Biot body. There we go. Put some wraps of thread through that weight to anchor it in place. And now for tail, I think we're just gonna do a little bit of pheasant fiber. Let's say, oh, I don't know. We don't need a whole lot. That looks like about 5 right there. So we'll rip that off. And we don't need a full shank length. Kind of do a short shank length. I go from the eye to the start of the bend. Transfer that back. And then one loose wrap together and then tighten it down. Take it back to the bend. That's our nymph tail. Wrap the material up to the front. That way, keep the body nice and even. Now, let's see. What do we want this fly to be? I tied a little nymph earlier. I think we're mostly just gonna do that. I think we're gonna do, the only thing we might do is change the ribbing. But do I want to? No. We'll keep the wire rib. Let's see, which means I need my wire. Okay. Got a little bit of copper wire here. Just gonna hold that in front of the hook and wrap it in. It was a little long, so I gave it a little tug to shorten it up. Wrap that back to the hook bend where the tail is. And let's see, which means we need our Biot. I'm gonna use olive. So it looked so darn nice. So we just take a Biot, rip it straight down. And let's see, got the notch on the bottom here, got the fuzzy edge on top. We'll bind that in. Spin my thread to the left to flatten it out, like almost like a floss, making as even a body as I can. Spin that vise around a little bit to give me an idea where I'm at. Okay. Then take some thin super glue. Just a dab will do ya. In fact, that's a little thick, so I'm going to spread out a little bit with a toothpick. Or a bodkin if you had one. Then, let me get this thread a little more out of the way. I'm going to take our biot, hold it up in the air with the fuzzy side facing left. And we're going to spin our vise like so. And we're going to wrap. And I'm going to keep my wraps pretty tight this time. I got plenty of feather to work with. I don't mind coming up onto that lead weight a little bit, but I don't want to go all the way. So I'm going to build my thorax on there. Okay. And I'm actually going to leave it up there and I'll do something with it. Now I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to wrap it in the smooth spaces between the fuzz. I kind of like to get right up to the back edge of that fuzz and wrap that in. And it's going to give a little flash and a whole lot of strength to that biot. At this point, I'm going to take my biot, fold it back, come over it with the wire, and then I'm going to bind that wire down. Do a little dance around the camera. And then if you got a pair of snips, you can cut that wire. And save the rest of that wire for later. Okay, so we got this biot back here. This is going to be our wing case. So now what we need to do is make up the thorax. And I'm just going to do easy little dubbed thorax. So I'm going to lengthen my thread, add just a very thin amount of dubbing wax, and then I really liked the look of that light olive dubbing. I'm going to take some of that and dub that thin noodle onto my thread. Remember, I'm going with the twist of the thread, this spinning it as if clockwise. This noodle could be a bit fatter, because we do want a bit of a beefy abdomen, but we also don't want it to get out of control. Let's see, kind of work my way back up onto that lead wire. Take a wrap back by the wing case and start working my way forward. One over top of that, make a little ball of a abdomen. And that looks pretty nice. What I have to decide here is whether I want to bother with legs. I don't know that I do. What I could do, and what I will do actually, is take it as an opportunity to show you another little neat dubbing technique. They just snip off a little bit of rabbit's fur off our mask. And I've snipped from kind of between the eyes. work that in my fingers a little bit, get that mixed up a little bit. Good, good, good. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply another very thin coat of wax. And we're going to do what's called touch dubbing. This is a technique developed by, I think it was developed by, or at least favored by Gary LaFontaine. And all that is you take a little bit of dubbing and just touch it to your wax thread. And what sticks, sticks. I'm going to put a little wax down the bottom. I don't think I went down far enough. Couldn't quite see over the camera. There we go. You just take a wad of dubbing, and what sticks, sticks. So we have just kind of a little bit of dubbing, and then what you do is you take your bobbin, and again you spin it in a clockwise direction if you're looking down on it, or to the right. Give this a good spin. And what this does is it wraps the fibers around just a hair. It kind of gives you like a much sparser version of a dubbing loop. And then we're just going to wrap this on. I'm going to brush the fibers back as I go with my fingers so I don't trap them forward. It doesn't take much. I think that's good. I'm just going to pluck the rest of the hair off my thread, clean that up. I'm going to sweep all the fibers back and put a few wraps down in front and over top of them a little bit to keep them swept back. Well, that's done. Let's just give us a little bit of that spiky hare's ear look. Because our synthetic dubbing isn't too spiky, so we're adding a little bit of suggestion of legs. And then all we have to do is take our Biot that we've saved the tag end of and come over top as a wing case. And I'm sweeping these rabbit fibers back so I don't trap any by the hook eye. I'm going to tug that down, hold it down. I'm going to take a loose wrap of thread, cinch it gently, take a few more, and I'm going to see what it looks like. You can always tug and adjust to get that Biot looking good. And then we're not going to cut it because it's very tough to keep that hook eye clear if we cut it. We're going to fold it back and we're going to put some thread over top of it. It's a little tough to catch that fold, but if you get a few thread wraps down, you can usually get it. All right. And we're going to leave that Biot sitting there for the moment, just in case something slips. But we're going to do a half hitch. Well, let's use the tool. That's what it's there for. We're going to do a half hitch on top of it, and then I'll really snug it down. I'm going to put a few half hitches in front of it, and tug so hard we break our thread. That's par for the course, and bump the camera. Just make sure I'm still in focus real quick. Okay. But I think we're fine. Our thread broke at a good place after we tied our knot. So we're just going to come in and nick it with the tips of our scissors. Then we're going to come in on top. Trim that Biot. Just take a little bit off the brush with the toothpick. And just make sure I get that biot locked in place. And this is going to be a good time to do that trick I mentioned in another video. If I can find, I don't suppose I can find that hackle stem I used. Because I got the hook eye a little crowded when I broke my thread. It didn't quite cinch down as tight as it would have if I'd been able to tug it. So what I'm going to do, just to make sure that hook eye stays open, I'm going to run a feather stem through there and let it wedge the hook eye open for me. Take this feather stem, run that through the hook eye. Then as I get towards the fat end, I have to actually put some muscle in there. But that'll dry with that hook eye nice and open. And if that feather can fit through your fishing line, sure can. It'll look pretty. And that's just a stem from regular old body feather, because they got these nice thick bottoms. I always have some lying around from doing a soft tackle or just stripping fibers off them. They're good for tails, good legs too. So I usually have a few lying around. Plus it doesn't necessarily ruin them to do this. They usually hang around. Yeah. That is otherwise our finished fly. Nice little olive nymph with a copper rib. Nice shiny wing case. In fact, if we had some resin or epoxy, that'd be a good candidate to put a little drop on top of there. But I think that's just excessive. It looks perfectly good as is. Yeah. We'll call that a little Biot olive. Sign off.